Oh my goodness, that's a hard question. We launched Angel for Fashion 30 days into the war. My brand started shipping product even while the bombs were falling.
You went there for freedom, and what you found is a fight for freedom.
I mean, I'm glad that it happened in the way that it did, because if I had time to think about it, I would not have done it for sure. It wasn't super easy, but we did it.
Hi, and welcome to the Seven Figure Foundation series. And today we have Jen Sidary with me, and I'm very happy that you're here. Hi, welcome, Jen. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and great to have you. And today we're going to talk about Jen's story and about her brand Angels for Fashion. And the reason why I invited Jen, and I'm very happy that she also accepted the invite and that she's here, is because besides having a very sparkly personality, which in the short time I've known her really pops out, also she has just a great story about why she created the brand and what she actually does with Angels for Fashion. I think it's very inspiring, and it really suits the Seven Figure Foundation series, and where we are looking for e-commerce brands that have a story, that have a real personality, that has real people behind it. Because what happens a bit nowadays in the last few years is e-commerce gets a bit of a cold face. Like people are like, all these tactics that they use, buy now, only 3 items left. It really detaches a bit from the purpose and to the problems that people have and the solutions that these brands offer in order to solve those problems. And I really like to see these brands that still have a passion and a mission, and basically always trying to make the world a bit better. We cannot, fix the world. It's too broken for that to just fix it with a brand. But we can
No
try
kidding.
we can try to make it a bit better, Jen, right? Step by step and piece by piece. And everyone does a bit their part. We might get there. So, Jen, again, happy that you're here. And I'd just like to ask you, of course, maybe you can share a bit about Angels for Fashion, what it is. I have a feeling it's about fashion, but you know better than me. And also, like, what inspired you to create Angel for Fashion? Because it has quite a bit of an angle, which, it's not the easiest thing that you kind of dove into and what you're trying to do here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was certainly not the plan. I can tell you that. I ended up in Ukraine during the pandemic, and pretty much in search of freedom from the
Mm-hmm.
lockdowns of Los Angeles. And I found freedom actually in Ukraine. So I started and discovered these super talented Ukrainian fashion brands back in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the war broke out, I was actually showcasing some of them at New York Fashion Week. And I realized that they needed a platform not only to, help them survive the war crisis on their country, but also to kind of re-inspire them to reopen their websites even during the war. So
Yeah.
we Angel for Fashion 30 days into the war, which I
Wow.
think is crazy and unheard of. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember when I launched with a exclusive article in the New York Times, the journalist Shane was asking me, "So, do you think that you're going to be able to ship these products during a war?" And I was like, "I mean, here's hoping."
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a, gambling situation,
Mm-hmm.
but really, my brand started shipping product even while the bombs were falling. So here we are 3 years later.
Yeah, and
Just
still, there's no end to. You went there for freedom, and what you found is a fight for freedom, basically. And
yeah.
yeah, how did you experience that? Like, how did it affect you?
I always tell people it's been the most inspiring time in my life, and at the same time, the most painful time in my life. I mean, I don't feel like the world is hearing. what's actually happening in Ukraine as much as like you're seeing and hearing a lot of what's happening in Gaza, right? These
Mm-hmm.
people are documenting it, but I do believe that the Russians aren't, and considering they're so cut off from the world in terms of posting and having access to the internet and whatnot, you're not
Mm-hmm.
really seeing the absolutely horrific tragedy. Uh, I mean, when it does all come out, I think the world is going to be quite shocked at what has happened, but it like I said, it's also been super inspiring to, work with people that are this determined and unable to give up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible to see for sure.
Yeah, they're very resilient.
Mhm.
I also know some Ukrainian people, and one of my colleagues is Ukrainian, and they don't give up, and they give everything. They also stay somehow positive, even after all these years, that they can get there, that they can get to the other end, and that they can win this. Um, but yeah, so how were the early days for you? Like, because you need to probably figure out a lot of stuff. I mean, 30 days into the war, you like launched the brand. Like what the journalist said. Like, how were you going to do distribution? Like how was that to figure that all out?
I mean, the whole thing was pretty insane. I mean, considering we weren't a website before, you do have to think. I had to email these brands and ask them if they wanted to join a multi-brand website. So I think I sent out 100 emails to 100 different brands. I ended up with 30 responses from the people that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we launched Angel for Fashion. I mean, I also found a development team here in Barcelona to build me a custom website on Shopify.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this 30-day period, we not only got all the assets from the brands, but we designed the site and uploaded everything to the website. I even had at the time my ex-boyfriend in Paris helping me upload products,
Mm-hmm.
because in 1 week we uploaded 800 products to the site as well so that we could go live.
Yeah.
So it was completely insane. And logistics, yes, are still, I would say to this moment, my biggest nightmare, because there is still no air travel in the country. So everything does have to go ground through Ukraine until it hits
Mm-hmm.
Poland, then it finally hits the air.
Yeah.
And it's not the fastest process because Ukraine is not a EU country either.
Yeah.
Um, so logistics for sure is the biggest pain.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it would say because with the war and everything going on, and the people that you have contact with probably also live in Ukraine. Like the biggest challenge that you have is the distribution. All the rest kind of keeps going, or is there something else that you're like,
Well,
well,
no
I really struggled with
electricity.
that.
No electricity a lot too in the country, as you maybe know. The
Yeah.
Russians love to target their energy structure. So there is many times where I'm trying to get a hold of them for things or whatever, and they have very spotty electricity and internet services. So
And was there any moment that you were like, what did I get myself into? Like, why am I doing this?
quite a lot. I mean, I'm glad that it happened in the way that it did because if I had time to think about it, I would not have done it for sure.
Yeah, because you're
Um,
constantly kind of solving problems, I think, as well. Like every time issues arise, it's not smooth sailing. Not that any business is smooth sailing, don't get me wrong. But it's not like you can say, hey, there are so many people having had the same issues as I have in the past. How did you do it, right? You kind of have to figure a lot of things out yourself as well, I can imagine.
I mean, for sure, I do. I mean, I will tell you, it is something I love is problem solving. So, that part for me is fun. But yeah, it's every day it's a new challenge. And I can't tell you how often my team and I say, lessons learned from this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a lot of lessons learned every season, which I guess is good. It's the positive way to look at when mistakes happen, right?
Yeah, and is that also what keeps you going? And maybe also just because of the cause, kind of that you are also supporting with this. Um, like, is that what gives you the fire to keep on tackling all these problems day after day? That you wake up and like, okay, what has today to offer me? And how am I going to go get the energy to do this all again?
I mean, certainly what keeps me going is, I mean, these Ukrainian designers now, we have over 40 of them on the website. And they're all so talented, and many of them have become not only friends, but I even consider them family.
Hmm.
So for me, it's, being able to tell the world about their talent. And I mean, I am just waiting for the day that the war ends, because I do believe that Kyiv will become this new hub for travel. I think people are going to want to come and see where their tax dollars were spent.
Hmm.
And I think that people are going to explore and discover the magic that is Kyiv. It is certainly one of my favorite cities in the world now. Um, I mean, I actually even have a saying that says everything just tastes better in Ukraine.
Okay.
So the war is over. You definitely need to come experience it for yourself because it really is truly unbelievable city. Uh,
What's so special about it? Like, is it the vibe that there is, or the people, the food, the architecture? What makes it so special?
I mean, I would say the people for sure are super nice. The the architecture a little bit, but I mean the food is insane. You do have to realize there is some of the world's richest soil,
All right.
is there in Ukraine, so you can pretty much put anything in the ground and it will grow,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge, and you can taste the difference in the food.
Yeah.
I mean, they are the world's breadbasket, as I'm sure you've heard since then. And then, of course, I have to tell you the most well balanced cocktails of your life. Uh,
Really?
so the cocktails are beautiful and taste amazing. So it's a really magical city. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It really is,
Yeah.
but it's quite incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I sure. I sure need to visit that when everything quiets down a
You will
bit.
come
Yeah,
for
it's not the
sure.
time right now to just go around and have a holiday there.
Yeah, it is really crazy. I mean, you do get quite used to the air alarms, I must say, when you're there. I mean, I predominantly stay in Western Ukraine in Lviv or in Kyiv. I have yet to go as far as like Kharkiv, where they are bombed, every hour they're receiving bombs, because they're so close to the front line.
Hmm.
I do have one designer in Kharkiv, and I keep telling him at some point maybe I can come and visit him and meet him in person.
Maybe he can come visit you. Maybe that's a bit better, a bit safer, because
Yes, for
you never
sure,
know.
for
You're
sure.
very brave to suggest something like that.
Oh, my mom hates it. Every time I go, I think she just doesn't breathe for a week when I'm in the country?
Yeah. Then again, you probably also wouldn't have started this adventure if you didn't have the balls to do so, right? So, yeah.
That is true. That is true. Yes.
And talking about like the journey that you went through, like is there something that you could say like, okay, that's really something. If I could do that differently, I would definitely don't wouldn't make that mistake, or I would definitely would have done that in a different way.
I'm biggest regret, I would say, so since I launched super fast,
Hmm.
um, obviously I didn't make or create a business plan, right? I mean, there was no time.
Yeah.
So I have spent the last couple of months trying to finally create my business plan, which you think would be super easy. You just hire some smart cookie to help you write it. But it's certainly much easier to write a business plan when there is no business, right? Because everything is a hypothetical.
Hmm.
But to write a business plan with actual real things that have happened, which this person doesn't know what's happened in my business in the last 3 years, made it a lot slower and painful process. So, for sure, um, to all of you founders out there, if you're thinking of starting a business, you should definitely think about doing your business plan from the inception instead of waiting, because it has been a much slower process. I am, currently going to start looking for an investor to take the business to the next level. So of
Hmm.
course I need a business plan and,
Yeah.
you know, financials for the last 3 years and whatnot. But I would say it's probably my only regret, really.
Okay. Well, it's good to only have like one regret. It's of course a big thing because it builds the foundations. It gives you a guideline and steps to take in order to reach your
Yeah.
goal. So yeah, I can imagine that after the fact that it's challenging because you already have certain things in place and maybe you realize, oh, maybe we actually had to do that differently. But now we created this situation and it's very difficult to just stop it, remove it, and put something new in place because other factors are dependent on it, right? Let's just say distribution, right? If you say like in your case that's already tricky, of course, but like, hey, actually, if I had sat down and we drafted up like how we're going to tackle that and how we're going to give it shape, then maybe things would have been more streamlined, uh, as much as that could. Yeah. And so what how does your team help you in this? Like, what does your team actually look like? Is it just you?
Well, of course, my team is all Ukrainian.
Hmm.
So I started with 2 girls. Both of them I met in Kyiv. One of them at the time used to be my assistant back in the day, helping me with the different fashion weeks. And what's crazy about Marina is when I first started working with her back in 2021, she spoke zero English. I mean,
Hmm.
I would ask her a question and I'd be like, okay, so do you understand me? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, you didn't understand a fucking thing I said, right? I mean, it was just really funny. Now,
Were
of
you
course, her
communicating
English,
with Google Translate, maybe? Like
yeah, it
typing it
was
in
really
and showing
crazy.
like
It
this.
was really crazy. But thankfully, Marina has stayed with me. She's definitely like my right arm. She's now our senior brand manager. And I mean, she's grown exponentially and knows everything about the business. So she left right at the beginning of the war as well. And she lives in the south of Spain, so not far from me in Alicante. And then there's one other girl, Alina Bayramova. We met in Ukraine. She's one of those crazy, amazing, creative people. And she's the one who really helped me build the Angel for Fashion brand and
Right.
what this would look like. So she now lives in New York because she was helping me show the brands at New York Fashion Week the week that the war broke out. So
Yeah.
she has not left the US in 3 years, and is like our creative CMO guru. And then since then, I have brought on a VP of wholesale. Her name is Anya. I've
Hmm.
actually known Anya, God, for like 10 years, I think. She used to be the director of sales at Izumiyaki. And I knew she was always foreign, right? But I didn't even know she was Ukrainian,
Okay.
because she was in New York as well.
Uh-huh.
Until I first went to Ukraine and she texted me like, "Oh my God, I'm seeing you in my country. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh my God, girl, you're Ukrainian?" So thankfully, with her huge expertise in wholesale, she came on like a year and a half ago to help us really take our wholesale business to the next level. And she has for sure done that. But really, that's it. It's There's four of us.
Yeah, and does it is the case that the circumstances that they're all Ukrainian, and even you have some connection with Ukraine, as you told me, right? And is that what makes it
Yeah,
a tight group? A lot of them also being there from the initiation, like from the beginning, from the start. Like, does that create some kind of that you only need to look at each other to understand what's going on? Like, how does that go?
oh yeah. I mean, certainly, we're all super passionate ladies. We certainly fight and yell at each other like family.
Yeah,
Um, which is great. I mean, to me, I want you to be yourself and be honest and, not sugarcoat it. I mean, the only way you're
hmm,
going to grow is if you take chances and make mistakes
yeah,
and learn from them and, do it better the next time. Right.
yeah.
So
It's okay to call
and
each other out if things are not going well, or if someone needs to
me
step up, you
too.
know?
You have no
Yeah.
idea.
There's no
Or
way to grow if you just, like you said, sugarcoat everything and be like, oh, it's fine, or let me just not mention this, and then things fester, and there is no growth. Yeah, you need to sometimes just say how it is.
exactly. And, I want for people to even challenge me, I mean, because I certainly don't know everything.
Hmm.
Um, so it's good to get ideas from anywhere for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah, and I think also, like myself, if I look at my team, we could do a bit more like calling each other out. We're a bit sometimes a bit more polite and trying to be soft on each other. But um, having a shared goal really helps. Like that, what you're doing it for, what you're trying to achieve. That helps everyone being aligned and taking up their part of the job and making sure that it becomes a success. I think that really, that's also clearly defined and everyone knows what to expect and what to do. And I think you guys, you have a clear mission, you have a clear like reason for existence, right? And I think that also should probably be give you a big boost. Um, and talking about that, like about things that help grow a company, or make it successful. Like, is there something that you could give as a tip for e-commerce founders, maybe also starting e-commerce founders, to say like, hey, this is what you need to have in place, or this is what I would really recommend you do in order to create a successful brand?
I mean, I hope you don't mind if I like am super frank on your show, but I would say just fucking do it, because I can't tell you how many times people say to me, "Oh, I was going to start a multi-brand Ukrainian website." And I'm like, "Yeah, bitch, but you didn't." So, I think that actually just doing it and pulling the trigger and making it happen um, is better than just sitting around and planning and talking and thinking and maybe and trying to make something perfect. Sometimes you just have to just go for it
Hmm.
um, to have success.
It'll never be
Because
perfect anyway. Like, trying to to get it perfect, trying to get the perfect business plan and then execute it. You know, it
Yeah,
it will never happen. It will never be perfect. Sometimes you just need to take that step. Yeah.
just launch, I mean, I've been getting grants from USAID to help show the brands at New York, Paris, and Milan Fashion Weeks since September of 2021. And I have to tell you, did I know anything about receiving grants or writing grants or reporting for AID programs? No, I knew nothing. Um, but I had this crazy idea and pitched it to the head of USAID in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And, he got the brands the funding and we just did it. It was the most stressful 30 days, I think even more than launching the website.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we just did it. I just went and made it happen.
Yeah.
So I would say that's probably the thing that most people need to just do is just go for it,
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's great advice because like totally different. But I remember when like last year I was like I need to create like I want to create a new service for our business, right? And I just had like a launch date. So I think it was the 10th and the 11th of June. And I didn't have any content yet because I didn't even know if people were interested, right? So then, I got like e-commerce founders signing up. And I'm like, okay, crap, I really need to make something now. But because I had a deadline and I told them every week I will release a new module, like it was stressful, but I got it done because yeah, I had to do it. Like sometimes you need to just go head first into it because then it gets done because you don't have a choice. And if you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it then and then, and yeah, I want to first do this, and then I'm going to do it, right? And then, then it will be like 5 years later and you haven't done it yet. So I think that's great
Uh,
advice. Like go in it. And I need to do it myself more as well. To be like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And then we'll see how it goes. You
Well,
will learn
you
along the way.
are. You emailed me, and you're launching this podcast, and so, I mean, you're doing it, you
Yeah, I'm trying.
know?
I'm trying to be better. Like thank you for saying that. And it's also when people ask me like, yeah, so can you give examples? Like, no, I haven't done it yet. Like, I'm really starting now. And yeah, I also appreciate that you had faith and were like, yeah, sure, I'll jump on. That's how things
Well,
start.
to me
Yeah.
yeah, and to me, it's like I think people can be a little bit snobby in terms of, I mean, I get if you're some big celebrity that maybe you're not gonna do, um, if a journalist wants to speak to you about a media article or whatever. I mean, to me, all press is good press. So, and it just also, in my opinion, it just takes one person listening to this and loving me or my idea and saying,
Yeah.
okay, I want to invest in her business. It just takes that one person listening. So I think when people turn down opportunities, it's a humongous mistake because don't you always regret the things that you don't do more than the things that you do?
100%.
So,
Yeah.
when your friend's like, "Hey, dude, like this weekend, let's rent a car and drive to the south of Spain." And you're like, "Oh no, but maybe I need to like stay home and
Mm-hmm.
do laundry here." No,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
Like, take that leap of faith and go and do it. You're probably not gonna regret your trip to the south of Spain as you
Uh-huh.
probably regret sitting in your house doing nothing. So,
Yeah, and like I cannot agree more. Like also if I think about the things that I did, like the things that I'm most grateful for are the biggest leap that I took. Like when I was younger, I took a trip on my own to Peru. Was with the host family. I didn't know anyone, anything. A little bit of Spanish because I was like I need to prepare a bit, because they don't really know much of English, especially if you go with more local families. and that was amazing. Like it was one of the best trip that I made. Or moving to a different country, a new job. Like it's also the best. I mean, I met my wife and my son here. I didn't met my son, but because of that, I have a beautiful son. Because I just took that chance, being like, I'm going to a different country, a whole different job, and see what the adventure takes me, and it brought me the best things. So I cannot agree more. And of course, it's scary. Like, and sometimes you think. I remember being here for the first 3 weeks. I was like, "What am I doing here? Why did I do this?" Uh,
Mhm.
but now, it's the best decision that I've made. So yeah, just take that leap of faith. Yeah,
And change is good, you know?
yeah,
I think people get very stagnant and bored in their lives, and, I mean, this is like, I am not a huge believer in these, like, antidepressant drugs, because I feel like I wanna know when I'm not happy and when I need to go and change my life.
yeah.
I mean, I just moved to Spain 2 years ago, and finally said bye to America, and yeah, it was super scary, I was 50-year-old single woman, and I just did it,
Yeah, and that's
and
awesome.
decision I ever made. I mean, of course, now looking back on the, criminal that America elected, last year, I'm certainly glad that I made the decision to leave the country.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And to circle back to the whole e-commerce experience that you had, because I mean, I already told you before we even jumped on this chat, because we already met before. Like, I hope I can stay a bit on track, because you're a very interesting personality. You have personality. Let's
Yes,
put it
so
like
we
that.
we got a little
And
off track.
yeah, so the one thing I need to do is to stay on track, and I just didn't. But
Okay.
that's all right. I think I'm enjoying this conversation, and I hope, like I said, maybe one person will as well. That's what you do it for. Um, but what also is a question that I really like to ask, especially in your case, because it's very unpredictable for you right now. Do you have a vision of, like, this is where I want to be in 3 to 5 years? I assume no, that there's going to be peace. But, like, where do you see the business in 3 to 5 years?
I would like to be, I don't know if you've ever heard of Farfetch, but Farfetch
Yeah.
initially launched to be like the e-commerce platform for like independent stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for us, we would like to be the e-commerce platform for independent brands. But to drill down a little further into that, we would also like for it to be more for um, countries that have this fight for freedom. And of course, everyone would have to be a country that is a friend of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's been very tricky to think about which country could be next that would launch on our site. I mean, I have thought about even just launching Ukrainian fashion brands that live, and have been residing in other countries. It's really funny. There's a store around the corner from my apartment. It just opened, I don't know, 6 or 9 months ago, and I went in, and the woman's apparel is stunning. So we started talking, and she's very cool, and then she tells me that she's Ukrainian. She left Ukraine, like, 20 years ago.
The
So
coincidence.
crazy
Yeah.
destino moment.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that, I have a little trip planned in a couple of months to Romania, because I'm gonna go with one of my incredible retailers in Moldova. Um, Dopamine has invited me to come to Romanian Fashion Week, so maybe I'll get some inspiration there. Georgia, of course, I've seen some incredible designers. So possibly adding new designers to the website, and really kind of growing this into more um, global platform
Yeah,
other
you're
than
also mentioning
just
two countries, Romania and Georgia, who have their struggles right now, who are also fighting for
they are,
basically
yeah,
their
they are
freedom. Yeah.
they are fighting, and I mean, I don't know how many videos you've seen out of Georgia. Um, but we do have a designer who's been living and residing in Ukraine. His brand is called Gudu, but Lasha is actually Georgian. So he has been back in his country, like marching down the street against the Russian propaganda. So I would love to go there. So I do think expanding the brand matrix to other countries is probably our next step
Yeah,
in the
you're
growth
not
process.
choosing also the easy way out, right? That you're looking to really make that difference and to go for where your heart takes you. It feels like, you know, you I can see it when you talk about it. Like you really admire these people that, you know, fight for their freedom and for what's right, and it gives me the feeling that that gives you that motivation to get up every morning. Like I asked before, like what gives you that motivation? Feels like, you know, that like striving for a better world, standing up for yourself. Um, yeah, I think that's
Well,
beautiful.
the world certainly needs more angels. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, we are called Angel for Fashion. And yeah, I mean, you know, spending this last 4 years in Ukraine, you know, it really has kind of taught me that freedom isn't free. Um, and fighting against what I call Russian propaganda is a very serious thing. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's amazing to see these people that don't take it for granted, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah. I
so
think,
we'll see
yeah,
what's next.
I think you give like also a great a view of the world, and great advice. You know, I especially love it. Like, just do it. Like, just do it, and don't be like, I'm planning to. Um, if you could give yourself, let's say, as a final question, if you could give yourself an advice, yourself, like, if you could go back in time, you can say like, Jen, if I could tell you one thing to do differently, or something that you should just know right now that will make your life much easier when it comes to like running an e-commerce brand, like what will you tell yourself?
Oh my goodness, that's a hard question. I mean, for me, I guess, you know, it's interesting. Before this Angel for Fashion, so before this company, I did try and launch other companies.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I was doing it with another person because maybe I was a little bit scared to do it on my own. And
Yeah.
oddly, like those companies never worked out. And until I actually decided to launch a brand, just me on my own, like, you know, I funded the entire company. I lived on as little money as I could possibly live on the last few years. But I feel like it ultimately worked out because I was the decision maker, right? I mean, when you count
Mm-hmm.
on somebody else to be your business partner, it's tricky, right? Because you guys have to get together and you both have to
Yeah.
agree on this or that or whatever. So I would say doing it on your own is maybe easier than doing it with a partner, right? Because that person can let you down.
Or you can
So
disagree about like the strategy, the way forward. Yeah.
I probably should have done it on my own a long time ago. Maybe I would have, you know, a larger brand now, even if that makes sense.
I feel a bit like that. If I could describe this journey that you had, and the lessons that you learned, the word that comes to my head is courage. Have the courage to do it on your own. Have the courage to go in the unknown, right? And try to figure it out. Go head deep and head first and try to figure it out on your own. It's about like having faith in yourself, have the courage to do it. That's kind of what sticks with me.
For sure, and I mean, we take the craziest chances, you know? I mean, from launching this website in the middle of a war and thinking that we could ship product in the middle of a war, and yeah, I mean, we figured everything out, so it wasn't super easy, but we did it, so
Yeah,
I can't wait to see once the war ends, um, how big we could actually become, avoiding a lot of this logistical nightmares,
yeah,
right? It certainly be more simple.
yeah, yeah. Let's hope that that
Yeah.
will happen soon. Yeah, Jen, I would like to thank you for being here and sharing your experiences and also your view of the world and your struggles and yeah, the kind of I think it's very motivating and inspiring how you just went in and how you navigated through all these challenges and difficulties and you know, not to mention what you just had last week with the fashion week in Paris, you know, like all these
Right.
struggles, building up an entire set in a few hours because distribution, you know, only got your products the night before. So yeah, it shows that you are not only like hardworking, have heart for the business and the mission, but you also just don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up for sure. For sure. And thank you so much for having me. I totally wish you all the best with your new project as well. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
it'll be super successful. And hopefully we can meet in person someday.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep contact, and maybe we'll meet in Kiev, right? In and have some good food over there.
Oh, you will not believe how incredible it is. I mean, I'm hoping to get back. I've been back, I think, 5 times since the war broke out, and not yet here in 2025. So I'm hoping to make it back to Kyiv like very soon.
Yeah, yeah. I wish you all the best, and yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch. Thank you, Jen.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.